everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us on today's webinar, The Secret Ingredient to Flawless Service, Integration, brought to you by Technology Services Industry Association and sponsored by ServiceMax. My name is Inga Triago, your moderator for today. Before we get started, we have just a few housekeeping items. Audio is routed through your speakers. If you encounter audio quality or technical issues, let us know right away via the questions panel. You may access full screen view via the toggle button located at the top right area of the console. We encourage you to ask questions at any time via the questions panel. If you don't get to your question today, we will follow up with you via email. And finally, a link to the recorded version of today's webinar and the PDF of the presentation will be sent out in the next 24 hours via email. Once again, thank you for taking the time to join us today. Our presenters today are Vel Golovsky, Vice President, Research and Advisory, Field Services at TSIA, and Vidya Chadaga, Director of Product Marketing at ServiceMax. We have a lot to cover in 30 minutes, so let's jump right in and get started by turning things over to our first presenter. Vel, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Inga, and warm welcome to everybody on the webinar. Over the next 30 minutes, Vidya and I will work to dispel some of the myths and share some real-world data to help you define your integration strategy for field and managed services. Now, there are so many layers of tools in tech companies with multiple customer channels, self-service options, and a myriad of front office applications covering marketing, sales, and service. And in the center of all that is the customer information model. Now, there's always been a nirvana of the 360-degree view, but very few companies have achieved that because their data is typically stored in a whole bunch of siloed, unintegrated applications. Now, this next slide really drives that point home. From an earlier survey question, nearly half of tech firms have anywhere between 2 and 5 separate customer databases, and surprisingly, over a third have more than 5. Now, clearly this causes lots of problems in the form of productivity hits from employees searching for the right information. Not having all of these systems integrated means you probably aren't working from the most current or current information over half of the time. Now, the integration of data sets can have a positive impact on every single step of the field service cycle. For instance, knowing the accurate SLA information from your CRM is critical for scheduling and dispatch, making sure that your techs arrive on site to meet any of the existing SLAs that are in place. The idea of diagnose and repair requires integration to your knowledge bases. Logging the work performed has to be added into the customer history so that the call center knows what you did the last time that you were on site. Upsell and cross-sell engines from the call center or the marketing organization can suggest a contextual offer to extend, such as a preventive maintenance plan, while the tech is on site. And then finally, integrating to the ERP makes a lot of sense for pay-as-you-go contracts and when you have to bill for travel expenses, as an example. So what's at stake if you don't integrate? Without the easy access to the full 360 view of the customer, there are a number of challenges that any field service organization faces. For instance, no visibility to products or service history. The risk of that is that it will clearly impact time on site and first-time fix rates, and you have the potential for dispatching the technician with the wrong skills or the wrong parts. If you don't have knowledge of previous troubleshooting or incidents, once again, I think you have a problem with time on site and first-time fix rates. And then every time you go on site, if you have to reinvent the wheel, that clearly will alienate customers and have a negative impact down the road. And then finally, if you have inaccurate entitlement information, giving away support for free is not the way to have business success, and so that's clearly a risk if you don't know what the entitlement is. And then any missed SLA will definitely impact customer satisfaction and loyalty, as well as current trends are that penalties are in place for missed SLAs. And so all of these lead to significant issues down the road. So what I'd like to do now is introduce Vidya Chadaga from ServiceMax, and she'll help you with the defining and execution of your integration strategy for field and managed services. So take it away, Vidya.
Thank you, Val. Welcome, everyone. My name is Vidya Chadaga. I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at ServiceMax. Super excited to present a topic that's close to my heart. I was just telling a colleague in the room that it's a boring topic, but nevertheless, it's something that's close to my heart because I have a background in it. So hopefully the next 20 minutes can be interesting and exciting. Okay, the agenda, a very short agenda for today. I want to focus the bulk of the time on the first topic here, which is to talk about the 3 steps to integration success. And I've kind of spilled the beans with the title here. We know what the secret ingredient is, but hopefully I can talk about why it's a secret ingredient and why it's so critical for field service success in an enterprise. We'll talk about a customer's success. I do want to talk about lessons learned. We've done at ServiceMax, we've done tons of integrations for customers, and we've obviously learned a few things. So I want to share that and also leave you with some integration best practices. So I know that Val spoke a little bit about SLAs and parts and first-time fix rate and customer satisfaction and so on. Obviously, it's very clear that field service cannot exist in isolation. It has to be integrated to the plethora of systems that you have or don't have, depending on the segment of the industry you're in. For example, if you're a mid-market company, maybe your biggest concern is to minimize the manual data entry and re-entry and to minimize human intervention. And if you're an enterprise or really large company, your biggest headache is, oh my God, I've got multiple systems across multiple countries, multiple user interfaces. My guys have to log in and log out and go from here to there. The system is not, the systems aren't talking to each other. It's not the same information across various systems and so on. So as you see on this picture here, there's information on invoices stuck away in a finance system. Let's say orders and invoicing and some other information related to shipping is stuck in an ERP system. There's the inventory management system. We spoke about parts and other kinds of inventory information that's tucked away in another form of ERP system. So basically, you just need these systems to talk to one another, and this is not something that's new to you, but I just want to level set and say you have to integrate in order to maximize your investments. Now, here are the top 3 integration questions, and these questions could be answered by different roles, different folks in the organization, may be relevant for business, may be relevant for IT, but nevertheless, I'm just going to go through these questions and kind of give you food to think about, food for thought as you think about integration. What do you want to integrate? So important when you go down an integration, when you start working on an integration project. Is it data? Are they tasks? What's the timing? You basically define the process. Now, which levels do you want to integrate is an interesting question. I've defined three levels at which you may want to consider integration, and we'll talk more about that. And how do you want to integrate? It's almost like, yes, you've told me, I know I have to integrate something with something, and you've told me that I can do it at different levels, but really, can you please tell me, can you guide me through how I have to integrate? So we'll talk about that as well. First is, what do you want to integrate? This one picture, as much as it's an eye chart, is so critical and so important. Hopefully it resonates with the bulk of the listeners today. On the left-hand side, you've got some XYZ ERP system. It could be an SAP system, an Oracle system, QuickBooks, NetSuite, enterprise level system. It could be an on-premise system, a cloud-based system, whatever. It's some system which has got all your critical information such as product information and inventory information, big data, BI, price book, product, all of that information is sitting in that because it was your decision to implement that months ago, years ago. Maybe you acquired it as a part of an acquisition, whatever. But it's the fact, it's the truth of your system landscape. On the right-hand side, you see that you have either an existing CRM system or a new CRM system that you've just purchased. And I've given the example of Salesforce here. From what Bill presented, it seems like 32% of you have Salesforce.com as your CRM platform. It is the most popular CRM platform out there. So let's say on the right-hand side, you've got the standard objects from Salesforce, like accounts and contacts and products and case. And then you have a field service solution from a company maybe like ServiceMax, and then you've got custom objects on top of the CRM system. Now, the advantage with ServiceMax, of course, is that we are native on Force.com, so you don't have to take the extra step of integrating field service with a CRM system. It's built on the same code base, on the same platform, so that's just one endpoint for those of you who understand the integration terminology. Obviously, you see that what you need to integrate at the process level depends on whether you need it to be unidirectional or bidirectional, and also unidirectional from which system to which system. Just to call out an example, you may want the product information into your Salesforce system coming from the ERP system, or you may want the service contract information from your field service or system going into your ERP system so that it's properly reflected for the right billing and other activities. Bidirectional activities like billing also make sense. Anyway, this is just to give you a snapshot, an idea of how you have to define what you want to integrate. Next is which levels. Here, I just want to say that many folks fear the term integration and think of integration projects as being humongous, big, time-consuming projects. But really, you could just start small, and you could start with data migration. There's tons of free tools in the market today to do this one-time batch data upload. Let's say you decided to buy Salesforce.com or ServiceMax, and then you say, hey, I have an Excel file with all this information. So you can just do a core dump of this information and upload it to your newly acquired application just using one of these free tools out there. So that's at the data migration level. Then you've got the process integration. Process integration is usually at the application logic level, wherein you're talking about the data model, you're talking about the business processes, you're saying, here's the cloud system, here's the ERP system, let me define the end-to-end business process that needs to be completed, and these are the various elements that I have to connect and weave in order to complete this process. An example would be to convert quotes in ServiceMax to orders in SAP. And these are usually real-time data loads. Then comes the UI mashup. User interface mashup is, I think it's best explained with an example. Let's say you're on Amazon.com and you've ordered a book, and you want to track the shipping of this book. And then you can just, instead of going to FedEx.com, you have a little gadget or you have a little UI mashup on Amazon.com, wherein you can quickly just copy paste the shipping number, and you can see the information. You can track the FedEx package on Amazon.com. So that's a cool example of UI mashup in a consumer setup. In an enterprise setup, most of you who've used Salesforce.com or other CRM systems, you would see that you're able to see information coming from an SAP system or from other ERP systems onto your Salesforce system. Inside view information on ServiceMax or Salesforce, or you're looking at Who's information projected on your Salesforce UI. That's an example of user interface mashup. And obviously, this is an ongoing context-specific kind of information that's presented to you. Next, how do you want to integrate? This is where the expertise of the vendor and whether they want to be Switzerland or come up with a recommendation for you it plays a big part. let's say on one side, you have obviously the option of building. That's like, of course, I know that. Well, when I say building, if you are a large company, you've got extra hardware sitting in your data center, you've got resources, you've got tons of systems coming in and out, you're making acquisitions, newer companies merging together, newer systems coming in. You may want to decide to build. But really, who wants to do the plumbing when you can invest those IT resources into doing something more strategic and building something more interesting? And that's when you go to looking at buying something. That's when you come to the other side of the chart where you say, hey, listen, based on my IT strategy, based on my existing IT landscape, based on my vendor preference, based on my needs and timeline and budget, help me pick an integration solution. And at ServiceMax, we've had customers go through all kinds of scenarios. Some have gone with an implementation partner, wherein depending on the geography and the requirements, they would say, hey, listen, I already have a middleware tool. I have Boomi, I have IBM, I have Jitterbit, I have something else. Can you just help me connect this new system, SAP, with ServiceMax so that there's this seamless flow of information? There are customers who've done that. Then there are the customers who say, hey, listen, we've been small and nimble. We're just going into the cloud. We are sold on the concept of the cloud. We understand that's our long-term strategy. We want to go and maybe invest in a cloud middleware integration tool. And then there are tons of options for that too. Jitterbit and Cast-Iron, Boomi, Pervasive, Informatica, tons of options out there. So before I go into talking about a customer success, I think it's important to just talk about who ServiceMax is. Sorry for name dropping a couple of times. ServiceMax is the #1 field service solution provider. We offer this end-to-end field service, and I just want to build this slide already. And this green arrow is not going away from my screen for some reason. Hopefully you guys know that I'm just trying to get rid of it. Anyway, this is the end-to-end field service solution delivered in the cloud. It was built from scratch on Force.com. We are native on Force.com. Just to take you through the important modules, contracts. We've spoken about contracts, how contracts was the foster child and always tucked away into the ERP system. We at ServiceMax believe that it requires a warm welcome into the front office. The technicians, the dispatchers, the call center agents, everyone who gets a chance to present any kind of field service information should have access to the contract information as well, which means doing entitlement checks, having access to the install base, working with service plans and service contracts and so on. Then there's scheduling. We have 5 different flavors of scheduling. You could go from manual scheduling to dispatch console-based scheduling to interactive scheduling, immediate scheduling, just feed it into a queue and so on. We have optimized scheduling as well. You could do batch optimization, or you could do real-time optimization. And this is just making sure that no human brain is involved in scheduling. Instead, you have a machine spewing out the schedules for you. Then you've got the parts and inventory, service parts, reverse logistics, forward logistics. We track parts wherever it's stashed. This is so important as you're working with integrating to your back-end ERP system. Obviously, you may have a bigger inventory management system if you're a huge enterprise. And it's so important that that the part of the module that ServiceMax provides on service parts is connected to your back-end system. So there's this real-time visibility into inventory levels and thereby keeping inventory costs down and operating costs down. Social is a big part of modern field service solution. ServiceMax takes advantage of the Salesforce chatter functionality, and we've got Service Pulse where technicians get a chance to collaborate with each other. We've got Ticker, where executives get a chance to keep a pulse on what's happening in the service organization. Important customers, they could look at products, they could look at service teams, they could give an on-the-spot bonus to the most creative or most productive technician. Then there's the product pulse, which is talking about machine-to-machine communication, and so on. Communities, again, being built on Force.com, we take full advantage of the Salesforce One communities, which is giving your extended partner base a chance to have visibility into your operations. So there's customer communities and partner communities as a part of that suite. Analytics is so important. It's pervasive, so important to try and figure out what you're doing right in your business. To do this health check, we've got out-of-the-box reports and dashboards. All of this, by the way, all the 6 clouds available on any mobile device of your choice. We are big on the iPad app. We have an award-winning iPad app. We've got an iPhone app. We've got you can access the ServiceMax application on any of the HTML5-based browsers on any tablet or smartphone. So that's great. And obviously, we have all of this capability in offline disconnected mode as well on your laptops and on your iPads and your smart devices. Just want to talk about the customer success. This example, I'm going to share the slides with you, so don't want to go into the details already. But the idea is when two systems want to talk to each other, again, this slide here encompasses all the 3 things we spoke about. At what level, what business processes, what's the middleware tool, and so on. So here, Mindray decided to integrate ServiceMax with SAP using cast-iron cloud integration. And they did a few unidirectional, a few bidirectional kind of integration. And it's interesting to see that the results were seen in as less as 6 weeks. They used the cast-iron integration appliance, and obviously their biggest challenge was having disparate systems for managing inventory and spare parts and contracts. And they wanted this bidirectional integration for inventory levels, but they wanted unidirectional integration for accounts, work orders, and so on. The interesting thing to call out here is they actually do a daily update of thousands of accounts and inventory information. So the transaction level is pretty darn high here. And that's just an example of hundreds of our customers who've integrated to a plethora of back-end systems and have been successful. I think the next slide is interesting to show you an example of a user interface where you're seamlessly connecting the CRM system, and you're able to see. Let me go back. So seamlessly connecting the CRM system, and as you can see on this slide here, some of the information on this screen is, as much as it may seem like a ServiceMax screen, is actually coming from the backend CRM system. Again, for ServiceMax, it's easy peasy because we are built on Salesforce.com. So you guys who are Salesforce users may think this is Salesforce, but this is actually a ServiceMax user interface. Next example is seamlessly being connected to ERP. Look at the information on shipment and RMA and order status, all of this coming from the back-end ERP system. And this is another example of how you're being connected to an ERP means that your technician, your call center agent, your dispatcher, service manager, executives don't have to leave your field service application in order to get information from the ERP system. Anyway, so as we come towards the close of our presentation here, I just want to say there are integration concerns, and it's common. If you're feeling any of these pressure points here, then you're not alone. Cost justification is a big concern. I feel like mostly that's the case because people are trying to boil the ocean and are trying to venture into big integration projects. And hopefully the next slide will have some tricks for you. Integration timeline, that's another concern. What systems to integrate, what processes to target, common concerns. So keeping this in mind, some of the best practices we've seen is take a phased approach. This may seem like obvious, but it's not, because taking a phased approach means that you are defining the most important business processes to tackle first. You're saying that I need to see a proof of concept of this handshake happening with the other hand. So I think it's so important that you take a phased approach. Use a free tool for the one-time data migration. Don't start your integration project by going and evaluating vendors upfront. Try and use one of these tools so you're done with this batch one-time data migration. It's an easy-to-use tool. I think Jitterbit has a tool. IBM has a tool. QuickBooks has free tools to do this. Just use a tool for this one-time data migration, and that's surely a best practice. The fourth one is look for a fit-for-purpose solution. What we mean by this is you are not the first customer trying to integrate endpoint A with endpoint B, because all systems have been integrated with all other systems for some other customer by some other vendor. So try and look for, when you pick an integration vendor, if you're picking them from scratch, try and pick a vendor who's got tons of integration templates. That way, you're jump starting your integration project, and somebody else has unfortunately paid for a part of your integration project, which is great for you, but they were the guinea pig and you're not. So take advantage of that and use these templates that will help you cover maybe 70 to 80% of the project even before you start the project. And then, of course, needless to say, don't go and buy and then build and then buy some more and build some more. Don't do that. Don't use multiple platforms. Pick one platform for all of your integration needs. As you've listed your business processes for each of the phases, go with the same integration platform. I'm looking at the clock and I feel like I have to rush. The next steps, I urge you to go to ServiceMax.com. There's tons of content on various aspects, especially on integration. We have a productized integration out of the box for QuickBooks. You can check out the data sheet for that. There was a webinar on selecting the right app exchange solution that's native on Force.com that you can go ahead and check out that webinar as well. And with that, hopefully we have at least a minute or two for any questions.
Thank you, Vidya. And yes, we do. We do have time for one or two quick questions. First question, Vidya. Do you find integration patterns that include doing master data lookups when adding accounts, contacts, etc. in ServiceMax?
Yes, we do have integration patterns. One thing to keep in mind, though, is the master data lookup, at least the ones that's called out here for accounts, contacts, etc. They are standard objects in Salesforce.com. So literally, because you're built on the same platform, these lookups are not even it doesn't require an integration pattern. It's like we are on the same platform, so it doesn't matter. But we have integration patterns for other custom objects and other uncommon, non-standard objects as well.
Okay, great. We do have time for one more quick question. Vidya, what are the methods of integration for ServiceMax?
That's a great question. We've got, obviously, depending on the other endpoint, the method could be different. If it's connecting to an SAP system, we've got BOPIs, we've got our APIs, and Salesforce and SAP can connect at that level. Sometimes it has to be through at the database level, JDBC. We could do SOA calls, whatever, web service calls, as long as the other system is ready to open up its systems to us, we can absolutely integrate.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Vidya. We are at the conclusion of today's webinar. I want to take this time to thank Vidya and Vel for a very informative and insightful presentation, and also like to thank all the attendees for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. A quick reminder, we will be A link to the recorded version of today's webinar and the PDF of the presentation will be sent out to everyone within the next 24 hours via email. Thank you for taking the time